So I want to just show you at a high level all the other videos that are in here. So here is on day one. This is a lot about, the beginning of this is about, it's very raw. It's Zach and Bill praying for me. And you see that just the evolution. And then this initial idea was a family project, was going to be a book, but then this inspired this YouTube channel itself. And then Zach goes into an unbelievable, I mean, Michael knows my kids. I mean, they're just unbelievable young men. And they're sharing over here. So this is a family project where you're hearing, not just in my voice, my lesson, you're learning from what are the lessons learned from as a teenager? What are the lessons learned by my wife? What are the lessons? Because Sue can speak to other mothers in ways that I can't. My boys who are young men, Aaron, you may connect with Zach. He's like you, he's an extraordinary young man. You might want to reach out and just kind of connect with him, just on a personal level. He'd be inspired by you and you'd be inspired by him when you see who he is. And then Dill is this unbelievable 16-year-old kid, and you'll see his story in a moment. So then you'll see we're all sharing tenderly. And then there's this part where I'm awakening conscious leadership. I actually am on deck to give a 3-day deep dive on awakening conscious leadership within the exchange community. So I'm going back and I'm prepping now to deliver my finest expression of my work that I have ever done, because it's done in partnership with John Berghoff. This program that I gave you a taste of today, I've done that program for 3 days. And we've got a recording. So that's becoming a product right now. So that'll be available. And it's just extraordinary. Then, so that was an intro. You know, it was a preview for the exchange community for people to sign up to that program. And then I go see my surgeon. So I've got this whole backstory of my medical care. And then I celebrate over here like nobody's business that I didn't have a metastases. That's primary brain cancer. So you've never seen anybody celebrate having a primary brain cancer, you know, just shouting from the rooftops, you know, over Torrey Pines. I still don't have my definitive diagnosis. And then you get into the medical documentary part of it. So I am the author of one of the early textbooks on evidence-based medicine, who received medical training as an internist at one of the top, you know, medical schools in the country, receiving world-class conventional care at Scripps, MD Anderson Cancer Center. And I've got a dream team. I've got the top neurosurgeon in the system, if not the country. I've got the director of medical oncology in the system. I have the top radiation oncologist in the system. And I have the director of neuro-oncology in the system. And they've all given me inside view of interviews. This is the medical documentary. So you're seeing that arc of it. I'm also the founding chair of the Academy of Integrative Health and Medicine. And I'm deeply connected in the world of integrative holistic medicine. So I'm getting world-class care from a group of individuals. Mimi Guarneri is she founded the Center for Integrative Medicine at Scripps, and she has got the model clinic. She's got the model clinic in the country or in the world that people fly all over the show for. And I'll give you a clue. This clinic doesn't look like a clinic. It looks like a spa. You've never seen a clinic like this. And then I've got other care team members, or Patrick Hanaway, who's the director of functional medicine at the Cleveland Clinic. This is like precision-based care. And Patrick had stage 4 throat cancer himself. And he's now cancer-free 2 years later because of an extraordinary woman who's trained in traditional Oriental medicine, Dr. Nalini Chilkoff. She's had 23 years of integrated oncology experience. And I'm speaking to Dr. Chilkoff in 2 hours' time to do my formal intake. So I have got Patrick, people go all over the country to Patrick for his care. And now he had a full cure. I mean, I'm not saying I am because I've got a different cancer, but I've got the top integrative medicine clinicians. And not only that, so not only am I getting the best of care in both worlds, but I'm also going through a spiritual transformation that I hope in of itself provides hope to cancers on their patient journey. So here's where I start. This is my visit to Scripps MD Anderson Cancer Center. You see me outside here. You see a beautiful thing where we're picking up rocks that Patients of Hope, and then they're letting me film everything. Here I'm getting set up for my radiation treatment, and you see me getting fitted for a mask. I'm like Silence of the Lambs, and I'm stuck down because I'm getting precision-guided radiotherapy. It is like Star Wars. I mean, it is like Star Wars. So you're seeing all these videos, and then I end off at the healing garden at the top. And I express appreciation because not only have you just witnessed, not only have you witnessed the state of the art in technical care, every touch point of interaction with any of the nurses, the front office staff, any touch point was a touch point of healing. So I'm actually expressing that I haven't had my radiation start, but the healing has begun. So you can imagine, what would it look like for patients to see this, cancer patients? But not only that, what would it look like for other physicians in healthcare systems to see this? Rob, you speak about humanizing healthcare systems. This is an example of what conscious culture looks like in the healthcare system. That's what I want to shine a light on. So there's all of this, and these videos are long. Whenever I talk to Amanda Rooker, we're talking about behind the scenes. We're fleshing out so if ever you have patience for this, you're going to find out what the mission for this channel is. And then I have this unbelievable opportunity to actually interview with a group of physician leaders. They call me, I've been working with Children's Primary Care Medical Group because part of my job is I do a lot of healthcare system work. I have a partnership with the American Association of Physician Leadership, and they plugged me into a healthcare system. This was an independent, program, but they called me their CMO. I've been the Chief Mindfulness Officer informally for the last 4 years, and I was going to do a full year program again. So what I'm doing is they let me record this session with the head of their well-being committee, as well as the president of the group. And now you're getting us a deep thing because, there's another plot line over here. We're in a time of COVID. What does that mean for actually physician burnout? 50% of physicians are burnt out. Now you're talking about this plot line that is huge, which is, what are we going to do with the increase in burnout? How are we going to help physicians heal themselves? So you can imagine the value of healthcare system leaders doing an active learning cycle on this extraordinary video here. And then what happens is I start going into this rhythm. And by the way, none of these videos are scripted. They are one-shot take. I don't think I've ever edited, well, unless it was like something like complex where I had to, most of these, 90% of these videos are shot on my crappy iPhone 10. I've got an aspiration for upgrading. My sons are shooting on an iPhone 8. And it's a one-shot take, boom, uploaded into the channel. 5 minutes later. So I shoot a video, it's into the channel. I don't even look at I oftentimes don't, and that's why it has a raw and real feeling. Then I get into this thing where I actually can wake up feeling blessed for the day. And I'm beginning to set intention, and then it goes into manifestation. And so one of the ideas, and I'm in a mastermind on conscious leadership. We've had those mastermind groups in the Senior Leadership Network, and I'm in a mastermind on advancing conscious leadership. And we've been talking about how our kids are struggling. So before my cancer diagnosis, I had this idea. I was going to pitch the book on the Conscious Capitalism for Kids has just come out. So I had this idea. I didn't tell Alexander, but I said, I've got this idea that I want to talk about, what could energize, the future of the movement. And what the idea that I was going to pitch was that the time is right for the teen chapter of Conscious Capitalism. Whoever you have teenage kids, would you be interested in your teenage kids kind of joining the teen chapter? So we've got our first 2 recruits. So here I am pitching the idea. Alexander is heartbroken, first of all, because I've just told him that. I then pitched the idea, and I not only pitched the idea, and he says, look, this is the right time. And then I said, I want to introduce you to an extraordinary young leader that I think I would like to suggest is the founding chair of the chapter. And so what I did was I suggested my son, Dylan, leads that as a founding chair. Partly because I can be in support of him, and partly because I have the choreography, but I can stand behind him, and I've got this whole community of people that can make this a success. He's actually the perfect person. So here's Alexander announcing to Dill, announcing the founding of the teen chapter of Conscious Capitalism, and Dill being the leader of that. So that's an announcement that just keep an eye out of that. That's going to be a more formal announcement, but it's already in the channel. And then here's the next sequence. I get the call at 4 o'clock in the afternoon after this extraordinary day that my biopsy results are back. I've got my definitive diagnosis. And now you see me in fear. Even though I'm an awakened conscious leader, I still have fear because I'm about to get my biggest test result of my life. You know, you might have had anxiety about getting test results before in your life. Well, this test result is like, it's going to change my life. I'm walking through a door. And I can't, my greatest fear is grade 4 glioblastoma. And then I get the news. I'm sitting in the office. I'm sitting in the office, and Dr. Malone is giving me my biopsy result with my brain scans in the background. I mean, this is like a very intimate moment. And he's telling me, I'm sorry to have to tell you, you have grade 4 glioblastoma. And I mean, I had a mix of emotions. At the one hand, like I had this mix of emotions that I was kind of, I mean, it was a shock to my system, but I was also mindful enough at the time of how difficult it was for him to share the news. He was really struggling to, because he's got the most extraordinary bedside manner I've ever seen in a neurosurgeon, well, of any physician I've seen. He's the most loving physician. And I was doing my best to provide him compassion, to actually give him compassion as he is, because I knew it was a difficult diagnosis. And we ended that call with a left to left hug. So, you know, the learning of, I mean, that alone is the learning of what it means to, what does it mean to provide humane care as a physician? That's the model. It's a model of humane care in the time of difficult diagnosis. So the value to patients, but the value to actually physicians to watch this video is extraordinary. And imagine you have an active learning cycle below that. And then what happened was, here we go into, I get home and I go through all the stages of grief. My kids are waiting in the kitchen for me. And we're in shock, they're waiting in the kitchen. And they look at my face, we're in numb and shock. And all of us, we don't have to say anything else. The kids go like this. Oh, Dad, don't tell me that. And so we go into our grief response around the kitchen table. That was our height of the grief response. And this is us 2 o'clock in the morning, still processing our grief response. I'm processing with my boys together. And this is Dill. I just want to show you. This is a cosmic script. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. The script is being written by the divine. I'm just along for the ride. So what happens is we're trying to run these active learning cycles. We're trying to run these, we're like running a lot of mini experiments. Like, I just want to know, there's so much pain in our body. I just want to run experiments. So we have a wherewithal to actually we know we're in a grief response. And I'm running these experiments. Okay, let's see what's going to make our energy expand or contract. Let's see if we can find something. And so like I would go into kind of, let's put love in our heart, everybody around the table, put love in our heart, breathe love in through our heart, breathe it out into kind of soothing any pain we're suffering in our body. So that's what we're running these experiments. And, it's taking the edge off. It's like a little nudge of energy. But Dylan's going, no. And he's actually that for him is an experiment that makes things worse. And then he grabs his cell phone. He says, I'm going to run upstairs and I'm going to shoot a video. And he shoots this video. This video is the most profound expression of conscious leadership in a teen that I've ever seen. Because how he starts the video by saying, I'm thinking of committing suicide. It's too much pain to bear. I can't bear this pain. And then something miraculous happens. And he told me that it came from somewhere else. what happened was a metaphor landed in, and he's actually talking through this metaphor. He's having this revelation. He says, my brain was empty and I had this metaphor. And the metaphor he had was he felt that he was in a movie. He felt that he was in a movie. And he said, this is the worst part of the movie, and I have no control of the movie. And then he goes, and he's actually awakening to his spiritual life. He points up and he says, somebody's else in the box. And he's talking about God. I have no control of this, but they're running the movie. I have no control of the movie. And then he has this revelation. He says, maybe this is 0% Rotten Tomatoes now. But what if I check out too early? And what if this movie gets better? What if this movie gets to a 50% Rotten Tomatoes? And then you hear him change his mind. He said, I'm not going to check out now. I want to stay around for the rest of this movie. My dad makes 100% Rotten Tomato movies. I'm going to stick around. In that moment, I'm thinking, how many teenagers' life did he save? As an anecdote, my brother's son, who was in his 20s, Aaron, he was roughly your age, shot himself in January, killed himself. I'm thinking, what if Ben had had a chance to watch this movie? Would it have helped in him pausing and waiting to see the end of the movie? And he had so much to live for. So in the morning, Dylan was named the teen chair of Conscious Capitalism in name only. By the evening, he had actually claimed the embodiment of it. And then that was when I realized that this was a cosmic script, and it actually demands that I have grade 4 glioblastoma. Why? Because the sequence of events of that growth and transformation would never have occurred. So I realized that the third dimension of awakening conscious leadership, there's a certain wisdom dimension, mindful wisdom dimension in the heart. There certainly is a connection of heart. But the third dimension of awakening is the full embodiment of servant leadership, which you trust that you're in service of something larger than yourself. That's spiritual surrender. You put all those together, that's full awakening of conscious leadership. So now I am in the full awakening of conscious leadership, and I have no fear. I experience this field as conscious loving energy within which miracles happen. And when my flesh melts off my bones, I'm in the field right now. I will still be in the field, just my flesh will have melted away. And I have no fear. What's dying in me right now is actually the fear of death itself. And when you have the fear of death itself, both physical death and psychological death, where you actually allow psychological death is the fear of living in validation, because we get crippled by our fear of self-doubt. We get crippled by our fear of self-doubt. That's the fear of living in validation. So when that dies, you live a life of abundance where you're never more fully alive. And that's what I'm experiencing right now. I'm in the full bloom of my life. I never thought I'd experience life this sweet. And then I began to have these interludes. Now there are interludes, people, because it's pretty intense. So I've had this heartfelt message sent from my brother, standing at the dawn, watching the sunrise over Arizona, and then him invoking in a very emotional way. He reminded me, our dad used to say, tomorrow will be a better day. And he's actually bringing that message in, just a brief message in, reminding me about the general question, how can I make this a better day? And then this video here is amazing, because I actually begin to understand the vision and mission of this channel itself. And we understand that it's a sacred emerging process and that we're in service of this. And then there's this piano tribute by Adrian Brody. And it's so beautiful, because I think he was one of the earlier videos, but he's trained in classical piano. And he's got this thing where he's speaking about, I think it's Beethoven or kind of Mozart. And he says, I want to play you this little riff. And literally the little riff there's a little riff where there's a rising. He says, that to me embodies conscious leadership. So now there's this, it's just gorgeous. And then on day 15, some magic happens. I've been in a series of crucial conversations with Dr. Yvette Midder, the executive medical officer of the Red Cross. And we have this powerful discussion We've been in a series of powerful, raw conversations
to help and to support
about healing systemic racism. Here is Dr. Yvette Miller, who grew up in the civil rights movement. Actually, not only she was aligned to Martin Luther King, she was a Black Panther, an activist. And she's talking to a white South African man. And what we've been processing through is how do we actually provide a template for healing? I just had my second recorded conversation with her yesterday. So it's just, I mean, you've got all these plot lines, and then I'm starting to talk about all the synchronicities unfolding, and then there's, Lana Pratt, and then I got this thing, and I mean, it's unbelievable, and then here we are with Abby, and Abby Schwab, and back at it with Alexander. And here's where we were talking about, actually, we're fleshing out some initiatives that we're looking for the Senior Leadership Network to talk about how do we actually help support. So there's a background, so there's transparency. Yeah, we want everybody to know how we're thinking about supporting the value of the future of conscious capitalism. So you're hearing that conversation. And then I bring Dill back downstairs because we've got to think about next steps for the teen chapter. And I see Alexander do the most extraordinary expression of conscious leadership I've ever seen him do. Because Dill says, how can I support next steps? It's very easy for any leader to go into, these are the 5 next steps. I think you need to do this, this, and this, and give a list for him to follow. You know what Alexander does? He says, Dill, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your vision. He's put that in. He says, give me a proposal and let's actually talk about that. He actually puts the vision of the teen chapter, not in Alexander's hands, but in Dill's hands. What an expression of conscious leadership. I mean, it's just amazing. And then this series of videos over here is just, amazing. This is the walkthrough of Mimi Guarneri's clinic at the Pearl. And then this is the ramp up over here. We're going into where I'm doing the deep dive. There's the leadership team meeting. I'm doing a bunch of these series of actually day 1, day 2, day 3, of the Awakening Conscious Leadership. Hey, Michael, look at this is the interlude. Here's Michael sending me a loving message from Yosemite. Brother, that was beautiful video. Not only was that beautiful, like just in terms of the beauty of the place, you know what it was even more beautiful, if I can say, was the beauty of your heart and the way you were expressing yourself here. It was just amazing. And so I very intentionally actually wanted to put Michael Hoth, co-founder of Laz Parking, sharing his love from Yosemite. I was very intentional about putting him being a co-founder of Laz because I wanted people to see the humanity of Michael as the leader of one of the top companies, in the world. Thank you for that contribution, Michael. And then, afterwards, there are just there are too many things. Here's Dr. Mason. Then Amanda and her husband talking about their thing. And then something magical happens I want you to watch The Secret with Pastor Natron Curtis. I mean, this is somebody who told me he ministers at the well. And he told me that he only has ever had a song that he sung to God. But he decided, because he loves me, he went into the studio for 7 hours and produced the song called Flow Through Me. You listen to that. That's the most extraordinary kind of gift. But I said, this has got to be a gift to the world. So I called him at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we actually did this. We did this prequel and follow up. And then here's this on day 24. Great honor, another moment. Okay, so this is Full Mary. There are so many synchronicities happening that I cannot keep count. I have 5 synchronicities before lunchtime. Well, no, before I wake up. I've all these things because I'm so much in the field of miracles that these coincidences, like you can see, these coincidences are just happening. So I need to have some expertise in helping me understand it. And Full Mary is the only individual in the world with a grounded theory, a PhD in a grounded theory of synchronicity. And get this, his mentor, that's another synchronicity, his mentor, His PhD supervisor was David Cooper Ryder, the founder of Appreciative Inquiry. Now that's a synchronicity. How do you put that together? It's a synchronicity within a synchronicity. Crazy. It's just crazy. And then here's where we start. Here's another. I want you to see this as another. Wherever you see Dill, watch Dill's videos, because this is another example of his conscious leadership. And actually, it was when I literally lost my shit with him one night, because he wanted to go on, there was this whole thing going on a ski trip on my birthday coming up. And I lost my shit. I said, I don't know how many more birthdays I'm going to have. So this was he's with the kind of one of the world's experts in conscious leadership, where he's now calming me down with a mindfulness practice. He says, Dad, and he's standing in the fire with me, actually helping coach me to elevation. So that's another, extraordinary video to watch. And then I'm going into the next cycle of intention. I'm going to the next cycle of intention. And here it actually is on day 25, where this goes to a whole nother scale. It goes to a whole nother level. What happens on day 25 is I've had a partnership with the Global Wellness Summit and the Global Wellness Institute for a decade. This is the Davos for the global wellness industry. And it is led by these two extraordinary women.
I'm sure that once we hang up, I'll think.
This is Susie Ellis, who's the chair of the Global Wellness Institute and the Global Wellness Summit. And this is Nancy Davis, who produces the event. And this is actually Sally Frankel and Wendy Bosavlovich, just extraordinary leaders in their own right. And so the Global Wellness Institute or the Global Wellness Summit, again, this is the Davos, and they've got all of these initiatives. I mean, they've got an initiative with the Vatican to reset world wellness. When they do their summits, literally the Dalai Lama keynotes, or in Mexico, Deepak Chopra keynotes. So it's at that scale with the top 500 leaders. The Institute is empowering wellness worldwide. The summit is joining together to shape the future of wellness. And by the end of this call, Susie Ellis says to me, Danny, I would like to invite you to house this Living Well from Within initiative within our Global Wellness Institute suite of initiatives. So this channel is going to be housed within the Global Wellness Institute. So that takes it to another scale. And so what happens since then, because what that gives us is a place to convene and do this in appreciative inquiry work at scale to actually deliver on the large vision of what does it mean to create a coalition of healing movements? What does it mean to create a coalition of healing movements that actually engaged in healing, growth, and creating flourishing wellness that creates elevation in the world? That's what this is now becoming. See how it goes to a new scale? I don't even know how to kind of just pay homage. And then I go into making invitations. This is the first invitation I made is to the Whole Health Institute. Watch that in terms of who these extraordinary women are. So wow. This over here is Dr. Tracy Gaudet, who ran the integrative healthcare revolution at the Veterans Administration. Literally, and this is Dr. Laurie Knudsen, who ran the well-being experience across the Duke system. These are really women doing work at scale. And not only that, but we have now the data within the VA showing that this whole health model works because it actually reduces health outcomes and improves health outcomes and reduces cost. So now you've got that research in the system. And so here's where this goes. So Alice Walton, the daughter of Sam Walton, the top 3 richest women in the world, comes to Tracy, because Tracy would never have left the VA. She said, Tracy, I want to actually take the whole health model into 13 segments of society. I want to take it into more broadly into healthcare, into business, into education and government, and a number of other. And she says, I want to fund the transformation of flourishing, wellness, and elevation globally. And that's the project that she's undertaking. Now, Tracy sees at that moment, but she's in a bind because it's COVID. I met Tracy in the Academy of Integrative Health and Medicine's ecosystem. I actually went up to her when she spoke at the conference, and she spoke about her deepest vision is to anchor this all in the center of her model is asking patients, having patients clarify what is the purpose for their health. And then she has a mindfulness room around that. And her personal mission was to elevate consciousness in the world. I said, have you heard of conscious capitalism? She hadn't. So then what I said, we spent a number of weeks talking about this, and she says, Danny, can you help me set the foundation of all the work we're doing on a program of awakening conscious leadership, because we need this kind of leadership to lead this transformation from a transformed state. So in August, I created a 2-day deep dive for her and her team on awakening conscious leadership. That became the basis for what I took back to the exchange community. So we did that, and it was a glorious success. So this whole initiative, and here Tracy and Laurie are accepting, the first people to accept joining the initiative on behalf of the Whole Health Institute in Alice Walton. And then I want you to see kind of like, I'm going to just want to close up, that night, Chip Connolly accepted on behalf of the Wisdom, accepted on behalf of his Modern Elder Academy, the key midlife wisdom school. The next day, George Gann, the chief idea architect of the global entrepreneurs movement, he's the chief idea EO, provisionally accepted on behalf of EO, which is a global network of 14,000 individuals. Next day, Jean Guy, founder of World Wellness Weekend, that puts on wellness on a given weekend, puts on events in 2,000 locations in over 100 countries, and he's got 30 mayors to sign on, and 6 US governors. 6 US governors have already signed on to this initiative. He's a dear friend. He signed on to the initiative as well. But then we're not done. I don't know if anybody's aware. Anybody know Heath Dickett? Heath Dickett's on the board of Conscious Capitalism, and John Mackey, I've been coaching Alexander McCoburn. We co-coached. John Mackey asked Heath to join the team. And if you see what the coaching partnership, we co-coached Alexander. And it was just the most glorious collaboration. And we also get into a mentor relationship. We were coaching each other week by week. Once a month, we would get on these calls, just Heath and myself. And if you see what Heath is doing at scale, it is beyond mind-boggling, how far he's come. So, and then this was the second, where I am in day 34, that was the second recorded conversation. So here's what I'm going to ask. I've given you a lot of bonus time. I hope that served you well. Oh, good God. And by the way, I'm going to have to split this into two. I know I'm going to have to split this into 2 videos because I want to make sure that you get, so bear with me. So if I can actually ask, for those of you that are on the call, or if you're not on the call but watching this on the recording, if you could go to that, Elizabeth, can you do us a favor and go to that, because I want to just see how this works. I'm going to give you the ability to share your screen once you get to this website. And let me just see what if you can get to the screen.
What's the site?
Well, it's in the chat. There's the link in the chat.
Hold on one second. On I will do that. got mad skills these days.
Yeah, you do.
I can copy and paste like the best.
Hey, Danny.
Yes.
I've switched to my phone and I'm going to drop off because I have another call that I'm late for. I love you, brother. This was all my time with you is always remarkable, and it was wonderful meeting all these new friends in Boston.
Michael, it is just like you've enriched our session today. I mean, people are blessed by you, and I'm blessed to have your friendship, and we're going to see you on Saturday.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it. Let me see if I get I don't know if you can see me now.
We can see you. And also what we're doing is we're looking at the screen. So what we're asking, I want to ask you if you can just model and click subscribe. That's the simple step. And then if you're actually moved, please send this out to your network, because for me to be able to create this coalition of healing movements, I need to have a subscriber base of, in the millions. And my intention is to get there, because that gives me influence to basically be able to shine a light on organizations like Conscious Capitalism that's doing the work of elevating humanity in the world. So, Michael,
count me in. I've already subscribed, I believe. Although I got to tune up some of my YouTube skills, because when I go to what I did think I signed up for, it doesn't come up in the same order that you have. So I got to.
You need the playlist. So I need to get you the playlist. This link that I've got over here, I'll get you the playlist, because that playlist is ordered. So that's where you have this as an experience. This is a Netflix series, because it's all unfolding in order. And
yeah.
That's
Send me that link.
Okay, you got it. That's the link that I've got you, and we'll make sure that you send. So Kelly, I'm going to just turn it back to you.
I'm going to jump off. Kelly, thank you so much. Danny, love you. And
love you,
take
brother.
care, everybody.
Love
Be
you,
good.
brother. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Michael. And
thank you, Kelly.
Thank you for all your time. And Daniel, thank you. This was, I think this was really moving. And I think I knew that it was going to be a special time, and it was. So I know we had an awful lot of folks that couldn't obviously make the full extent, but that's why we recorded it, so people can go back and see the magic that happened, that if they had to miss a portion of it. But you are a real blessing and inspiration. So thank you. And this was just incredible to be a part of. So
thank you, Kelly.
I'm not sure I have the appropriate words, but those are the words that I have at the moment.
But you've spoken, Kelly, because you're speaking the number of ways of communicating. The one word is with your words. Your tone and your presence is communicating volumes greater than even your words, and the essence of who you are communicates enough itself, because that's the power of conscious leadership. When you actually embody conscious leadership from a place of essence, the words become secondary. And so I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here with you. And we're at the end of this call in bonus time. And for Elizabeth, Aaron, Rob, Etta, JP, thank you for staying on longer as well to allow me to complete this recording for the benefit of everybody. And I also want to just thank everybody in the Boston chapter and beyond. And so that's everybody who may be listening to this recording. If you're in the Boston area, look up. I'm going to ask you, Kelly, for the information about the Boston chapter. We'll put that into the description below the video. And I will also put information about Conscious Capitalism below in the video too. So it's been an incredible honor and privilege to be with you today. And just want to kind of close with saying, I love you. I love you all. I love you all. I hope this has served you well. I hope this has served you well. And just wishing you a blessed day. Lots of love.
Thank you. Love and health to you.
Thank you so much.